Or watching it, or watching for that matter, yeah. Or can you watch it?
Well, I played for Mike. I played on primarily grass, real grass. I mean, I saw some of the finest infielders and outfielders that I've ever seen. If I go way back, I mean, guys like Clemente and Mays. If they were playing today, they would just magnificent athletes. And I roomed with Duke Snider for almost 2 years in New York. And I saw him at the tail end of his career, and he was still exciting to watch. But, television creates something that may be a false image for some guys, I think. But, I think guys come out of the bullpen today, they come in there and they're throwing missiles at 95 miles an hour and stuff like that. That's changed. I saw a few guys throwing real hard, but I faced all the and back I came up in the eight-team league. It was 8 teams in the American League, 8 in the National. So the starting staff's been in there 5 to 10 years. So you got Koufax, Drysdale, Bob Gibson, those type, Juan Marichal, those type guys. They were the stalwarts of every pitching staff, and they're wonderful athletes today. There's no doubt about it. But I think I saw the best. I really do. I think those guys. God, I saw middle infielders. Although I have to go, I say Robbie Alomar is the greatest second baseman I've ever seen, and shortstop, I don't know. You could throw them all. Pee Wee Reese. I mean, these guys came out of nothing, but except they were ready when they went into pro ball. Their hands worked properly. All they had to do was, get the experience of playing against good opposition. But you talk about hand action and double plays and, the hit and runs and stuff, which is non-existent now. I saw the tail end of the masters of bunting. Bunting was a beautiful part of the game. It still is when young guys pull it off. But, that's gone. Now they're trying to lift the ball out of the ballpark, altering their swings. This all-star thing, all they're talking about is guys hoisting them. I mean, I saw guys hitting them 450, maybe not Mickey Mantle hit them over 500. But there was tons of guys hitting way over 400 feet. So that hasn't changed, Starting pitching is starting pitching. I've asked Gaylord Perry and guys like that, how hard did you throw? Because we didn't have the radar guns. And he said, I was 93, 94, And, Bob Gibson, I faced him. I was lucky enough I hit him pretty good. And not too many guys want to go up and face that guy, particularly from the right side. And Drysdale, he could headhunt you, and Koufax was throwing 100 miles an hour. So not much has changed. They say they're bigger and stronger. Well, to me, they were the biggest guys coming out of whatever town they came from. They were the best-looking athletes. They played mostly baseball. Some played basketball as well, but, they were physical specimens. I saw that Dodger team I was on when I was a young boy, and I got a contract when I was 20. I was on the 40-man roster, not the 20, 25. But I walked in that dressing room, I thought I was on a football team. I was like 185 pounds, at almost 6'2", and, Snider and Hodges and Carl Ferrello and these guys were like 210, 220, massive muscles, never lifted a weight in their life. Probably lifted a lot of beer bottles, but that's beside it. But, they were physical specimens. They were powerful people. There's nobody who was better built than that guy in Pittsburgh. To me, he's the second greatest player that I think I've ever seen. Name escaped.
Which one, Clemente or Sargent?
Clemente. What a sensational man he was. He knew, your first name. He even find out who your wife's name was. He was that type of guy. We lose him very early in his life. But what a player. I never saw a better arm in my life. Outfield play, I saw guys like Billy Burton go get that ball as well as anybody I've seen today. Mays, one of the greatest center fielders that ever lived, Kurt Flood. Kurt Flood. When you hit a ball into the gap, you might hit it right on the nose, and you know, the first thing you thought, oh, Flood's out there, and he's going to run it down.
And the sad reality is, and I know you said earlier in the podcast that you don't begrudge people what they're making today, but in terms of history, and you have a good sense and appreciation of history, you know, share the wealth, and all the wealth is in large part attributable to, you know, everyone thinks it's the Messersmith decision. Well, you know, before that, it was Kurt Flood. Kurt Flood on the antitrust exemption.
What a player. Magnificent player.
Yep.
Every ball club. The Giants had a starting lineup. You couldn't have that team today. You couldn't afford them. When you got Willie McCovey, Willie Mays, Orlando Cepeda, and go on here, you know, they looked like a football team. They were big, powerful guys. You know, nothing's changed. Sure, the uniforms are better looking and all that stuff, but nothing's changed. The game is still the same. They throw you up by a half step at 90 feet. Who invented that? It's divine intervention made baseball, as far as I'm concerned.
Hey, Tim, you mentioned that you roomed for 2 years with the incomparable Duke Snider. One of my favorite guys of all time. I used to hear Brooklyn Dodger stories from my mom and my grandparents. And the Duke was born on September 19th. It's also my birthday, so I've always worn number 4 because of the Duke. But could you tell me what type of pressure was on him, or was there any, or how did he feel when he came back to New York in 1963 after he had been gone for 5 years? When he left, he was at the top of his game, and when he came back, obviously he had knee problems and he was older. Did he feel it, or was he just playing?
You know, I never saw him when he was really in his prime, just on television. But they tell me he was equal to Mays or Mantle or anybody. He had springs for legs, and he was a powerfully built man, you know, very handsome man, and he's very good to me. And, you know, even when he was 38 years old, to watch him swing and miss was exciting. You know, he hit, just to fill you in on what happened, he hit his 400th home run with us, I think in the Polo Grounds, you know, something like that. And we had Jimmy Pearsall. They picked him up on waivers, I guess, from the White Sox. And, you know, there was a little blurb in the paper about Snider hitting his 400th home run. And Pearsall says, you hit 400 home runs, Duke, and nobody's talking about you. He said, I got 99. Wait till I hit the 100th. Well, one day in the Polo Grounds, and I was the next hitter. And he come up, he hit one of those Chinese home runs opposite field. It went about 290 feet. And he got to first base, turned around, and ran it backwards. And when he crossed home plate, the umpire said, home run, and you're out. And he kicked him out of the game. I got the card at home. I have the card here. It shows me standing at the plate, wondering whether I should start ducking, because I'm sure I'm going to go down, you know, with the first pitch that's coming to the plate after that. Anyway, he got thrown out, but you know what? They were talking about him in Paris the next day, that Jim Pearsall ran that 100th home run backwards. So, you know.
Well, we have a question from another one of our viewers, Jim. He said, talking about playing with the best, how do you feel about the steroid era and the records that they broke? Do you feel that the record should stand? Should it be an asterisk? How do you feel about that whole thing?
Well, you know, I'm totally against it, of course, but, you know, I heard a real wise guy talk about it. This man loves the game of baseball, and he says, you know what, Tim? Open the door. As long as that stuff is not harmful, doesn't affect one's health, why not set it to show? Let's see the guys, whatever they want to be able to take within reason, because, you know, to watch Mark McGwire years ago and Sosa, I mean, these guys were putting on a show. I know they're living in, you know, there's a lot of falsehoods there, but still, you know, not everybody was hitting 70 home runs, though, was it? I think the greatest hitter I've seen outside of Ted Williams is Barry Bonds. Right? I think we'll agree on that one.
But even before the steroids, Barry was a great Hall of Fame player.
Yeah, but he was nowhere near what I saw him in the Sky Dome. I mean, he looked like he was like 240 pounds. You know, he didn't look right.
He went from being a surefire Hall of Famer to an immortal by taking steroids.
Yeah, he had a couple of bombs in spring, and I was standing on the floor of that stadium near the batting cage. He had a couple of balls up there that I've never seen go that far, and it was a show, and if you're going to be harmed by that stuff and you want to take it, what are you going to say? I think they're all taking it. They're taking it in football, and certainly I think, I won't mention guys in golf, but we know one guy, he's been out of the game for a while. If you look at him now and you look at him about 5-6 years ago, he doesn't look right,
Are we talking about Tiger?
Yeah, we're talking about maybe the greatest players ever lived, is Tiger Woods.
Yeah.
I mean, if you look at him 5 to 10, he was huge. My brother stood beside him and he said, "The guy's a mass of muscles." Well, he's not a mass of muscles now. He looks ordinary, well built. But fair and love and war, I guess. I don't know what to say about it.
But I will say this, though, with getting back to the Barry Bonds thing, and this is kind of a comical thing, but it's also, I guess, to the point. At the time when they were really ragging on him, there was a sign that I saw during a game. He's in left field, and it said, "The Babe did it on hot dogs and beer." And I thought that was a really great sign and basically to the point, So, well, the Babe is the Babe, and so he gets a pass for anything.
Right.
Hey, Tim, quick question for our friends where you are. What's the political landscape like with respect to baseball coming back to Montreal? There's a group up there. They have a really nice web presence where they're claiming that, they're not giving up, that they want baseball back in Montreal. Is there any foundation to that? Do you contemplate the Expos
I've
coming
lost
back?
contact with that. I mean, even though it's my hometown, I rarely have gone back there. But I couldn't give you, I haven't heard very much about it. I know there's French Canadians are wonderful baseball fans. I mean, when I grew up, I was the only English kid on a French team, and it wasn't for them, I probably never would have got an opportunity to play pro ball. But I played right in the heart of that city, right near the old Olympic Stadium. But I don't know. I mean, Miami looks like they got some problems. I don't know how they're gonna pay those salaries in Miami. I mean, they're dumping salaries now, are they not? But in hockey, we got Gary, the commissioner of hockey in the National Hockey League. He's trying to support that team in Glendale, Arizona. Why? I think they're beating the dead horse, but and they love to have hockey in Quebec City, which is, the capital of that province. I mean, it's about 150 miles due east of Montreal. But baseball, French Canadians love the game of baseball, and I think it would do well if they went back there. But I don't know. It takes a lot of money and takes a lot of marketing to be able to get that team back there. I don't think we'll see it in my lifetime anyway.
Hey, Tim?
Yeah?
I'd like to, I know we've monopolized a lot of your time, and so we thank you so much. And what we always talk about on the show is, like, baseball today, you got your starters, so I kind of started it off.
Right.
You was that guy who took over and got us close to the finish line, and we go to the closer, and the closer is Mr. Gladstone, so he gets to tie it all up. And thank everybody, especially I just want to thank you so much because it was a great conversation, and your opinions and your insights are just phenomenal. I'm glad that we had some time today.
You know what? I love talking to you American guys because, the beat of baseball still going hard inside my body, I'm telling you. And You know, I know there's a lot of baseball fans here, but, you know, when I